All right, we're live. So welcome back to Dapp University. So today we got a lot to talk about. A lot has happened since our live stream yesterday that I want to update you on. We do these live streams every Monday through Friday, about 9:30 a.m. Central Time. Of course, we're getting started a little bit late here today, kind of as always. But today, the first thing we're going to look at that I'm sure is on the top of people's minds, they're checking their phone this morning, looking at the cryptocurrency prices, is like, yeah, looks pretty good out there. All right, we've seen a lot of green. We've seen a big move from ETH. I'm going to talk about what I think about that and what could potentially happen next. Okay, so before we get into that, if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you learn how to become a blockchain master step-by-step start to finish, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp to get started today. All right, so got people jumping into the chat here. We got a news game, Kendall, Blake, Joseph, smart contract, half the calories, Rebecca, George, Clairvoyant Alliance. Awesome, welcome. So let's go ahead and jump into the first thing today, which is basically the real news of the day are the cryptocurrency prices. Okay, so we'll pull up the chart here. We got Bitcoin. We got moves from pretty much everybody. Okay, 7-day Bitcoin's got 12%. Ethereum's up about 25% of the past 7 days. Of course, as you go down the smaller cap stuff, we're gonna see bigger gains across some of those as well. But let's go ahead and jump into Ethereum, because this is one that I really want to talk about. Of course, I talk about a lot on this channel. People say, why do you talk about Ethereum so much? Well, it's because I work with it every single day. I have for years and years and years. I've watched all the exciting developments on the ecosystem. Of course, I'm a blockchain developer. That's what I do. Not a big trader, not a big TA guy. Personally hold cryptocurrency, invest in it for the long run. Ethereum is one of my largest holdings, and that's why is my largest holding, and that's why I talk about it a lot in this channel. It's one of those things where it's like, basically, it's conviction from all angles, right? So I like to clarify that. Some people who are brand new watching the channel don't understand that. Of course, people who've been watching my channel since the beginning do, but I like to just clarify things so people know what's going on. So anyways, let's take a look here. A couple weeks ago, or maybe it was last week, I can't remember, we were at a spot where I was talking about sort of the Ethereum price and what to expect next, or at least what I was thinking. As always, when I'm talking about the price of Ether here, it's not financial advice. I'm not telling you to buy or sell Ether based on any of this information. I just like to tell you kind of like my outlook on things, what I personally would do, or what I will do based on my situation, all that kind of stuff. So the first thing is, we talked about the ETH price being kind of boring for a while, really stagnant, maybe slow rise, maybe very low volatility, almost like a stable coin. And people are like wondering, hey, what's going on with the ETH price? Like, is it actually going to move? We see all these other coins taking off. We saw Binance coin, see a lot of gains through some of this. We saw some other layer one blockchain coins kind of really take off. So we have to talk about what I mentioned a couple weeks ago, which is how the Ethereum price tends to move. It's a really kind of like slow, gradual thing, and then you usually see these big jumps upward. Okay, so across the board on the cryptocurrency markets right now, I think we're seeing the Coinbase effect. We've been talking about this on the channel. The Coinbase IPO happened yesterday, direct listing to the stock market on the NASDAQ, and people were, we were kind of thinking about it ahead of time. What's going to happen? Is this going to be a good thing for cryptocurrency? Is it going to be a bad thing? At least in the short term, it looks like a good thing. And it seems pretty clear that what's going on right now is sort of the Coinbase effect. It's hard to think of a much better explanation than that. Some possible reasons for that are people who were, exiting at the Coinbase IPO, who were, with the company before, cashing out, moving into crypto. Other people basically who are basically cryptocurrency catching more people's attention outside of the normal circles. Basically, Coinbase being all over the news, people kind of getting back excited about cryptocurrency, and lots of different angles how the Coinbase IPO could affect the crypto markets. Okay, so I think that's what we're seeing right now. But going back to what I was saying a minute ago, ETH tends to trade this way or move this way, where it's kind of boring for a long time, and then we see a big jump upward. So I talked about this a couple weeks ago when we were kind of here, saying I think we're ready for another ETH move, and it kind of happened. It was a smaller move, and then it kind of leveled out and got boring again, but then we see another big leg up here, okay? So we could see another one of these pretty soon, because that's like I said, it's kind of how ETH tends to work. If you look at the price history over the past year plus, we see this all the time. Here, then boom, here, then boom, here, then boom, right? that being said, we also have to be cautious because, like I was saying with the Coinbase IPO, it could be one of those things where everybody's expecting it to be good and it could go down, right? Like kind of when everybody expects to go one way, it could be the exact opposite. We were talking about, could Coinbase IPO be a buy the rumor, sell the news type situation? We don't know. It looks like it wasn't that for at least the actual event. But it could be one of those things where it surprises everybody after. Or when we think we're out of the clear, everybody's thinking, oh, yeah, this is great. Coinbase was awesome for crypto, and then boom, dump. So that could happen too. So it's always not financial advice. I'm just telling you how I personally think about this. And I never feel bad for telling people to exercise caution. I'll put it that way. So that being said, long term on the roadmap for ETH, the really exciting thing to me about ETH is I've got a video later coming out today talking about sort of like where we could head with the Ethereum price, what's realistic, for this bull market, assuming that it continues, assuming that we are in these boom and bust cycles, kind of like the past, where we see a big parabolic rise in price and then followed by, a price drop into a multi-year bear market. Assuming that's still our trajectory, how high can we go on that? What's realistic? So check out that video later today when it comes out, or maybe it's tomorrow, something like that. Later this week when it comes out. You can subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. But basically, talking about a lot of things like what's possible. Some of the really common price predictions for ETH out there, like $10,000, and here Ethereum's trading about $2,500. Like, is it really possible for ETH to reach 10K? This cycle, etc., etc. But you have to think about it. Like, you can analyze it from a few different points of view. Let me pull up my screen here. The whole cryptocurrency market right now is about $2 trillion, a little over 2.3. So basically the whole market, assuming that ETH, maintained this 12.5% market share, which I think it'll probably capture more than that this year, the entire cryptocurrency market would have to go up to about $8 trillion. I think that could happen, which means that Bitcoin would be worth about $4 trillion, assuming that it has the same ratio here, which would mean it'd be about a little less than half the market cap, something like gold, for example. So I think it could do that. And if ETH at least maintained its market share, it could do that as well. You basically reach those big price levels. So that's one way to think about it, is in market cap terms, is can the entire market cap do that? I think it can with all the institutional adoption that's happening. Of course, not financial advice. But another thing to think about is just what's on the roadmap for ETH this year, okay? Because a lot of the big things haven't even happened yet. We've seen the innovation happening on Ethereum with DeFi, NFTs, all that kind of stuff. But a lot of the big technological advancements haven't really been turned on and widely spread out yet, or widely adopted yet. So we've seen a lot of ETH FUD. FUD stands for fear, uncertainty, and doubt. A lot of people like hating on ETH, all this kind of stuff because it's too slow, expensive. A lot of it's like marketing narratives from ETH competitors that, are trying to, it's basically trying to make ETH look bad to make their technology look good, when a lot of times their technology doesn't even do anything better than ETH in the first place. But basically, the big stuff for ETH hasn't even happened. Layer 2 scaling solutions haven't even really come out and been widely adopted yet. I mean, they're here now, but some of the big advancements in that haven't really been shipped out and adopted into big popular applications where everybody can use it. So that's one thing to think about. Like, we're already seeing some movement from ETH, and we could see some momentum just by the nature of the market push ETH forward. But then when this kind of stuff comes out, that tends to have an effect on the price. Not financial advice, but that's something to be excited about. EIP 1559, the ETH burning that is going to happen probably in July, maybe a little bit after. That's when it's scheduled for. That hasn't even happened yet. Changing the economics of how Ethereum works. The merge, okay, so merging ETH2 into ETH1, basically turning on proof of stake. Of course, we don't know exactly when that's going to happen. And then, the final phase of Ethereum 2.0, where we have sharding, okay? So that will not be, that'll be a much later event, but still, there's all these big things for ETH on the roadmap that still haven't happened yet. You have to think about that. So, as always, not financial advice, but those are some things that I'm pretty excited about. And the whole point here is we're seeing, I think, a lot of, excitement around ETH just by nature of the entire market moving up. But we have some things that could really put ETH in the spotlight later on that are pretty bullish in my opinion. So let's look at the the next thing here. So going back to the Coinbase IPO, well, actually, before we do that, let's kind of take a look at what's going on with the on-chain metrics, because we're starting to see some quick rises in price, and one thing you always have to watch out for is what's going on with the like the Nupal chart. So we're moving back towards the 0.75 line. I think we'd have to see some pretty sharp rises like in the Bitcoin price before we just like touch to 0.75 again like we did back here. If we touch it, there's really only a few scenarios. One, we could, blast off up into the blue territory, which is euphoric territory, which if history is any indication, that means we'll probably enter into some long-term downward trend from price correction. We could just hover at that line for a sustained period of time, but you don't really see that much on the chart in the past. You don't really see any history of that happening. The other one is we just go up and touch it and kiss it, and we kind of nuke downward. So that's exactly what happened here. We came and touched euphoria, and then we saw a big price dump here. So we'll see. I mean, the good news about some of this sideways chop that we're seeing in Bitcoin, I mean, of course, we've seen, a 7-day 11.8% gain, which is awesome for a big asset like Bitcoin. But we're seeing some little bit of volatility there, which basically adds some loss in addition to the profit, where it's not just like a vertical wall upward. That lets us get to a higher price point at a lower net unrealized profit ratio, which is good. Basically, the whole idea is you get more headroom on this metric. It gives the entire market more room to ride upward without being so frothy. So we'll see what happens there. We'll always keep an eye on that as sort of like a big temperature gauge. It's not a perfect metric by any stretch of the imagination, but it's one that I really like to look at. Of course, these are on-chain analytics. You're able to analyze the blockchain and see what's going on. I prefer these types of things as a blockchain developer because I understand how the chain works. I like to get sort of a big picture view. I'm not a big TA guy. I don't really do that much with charts. I mean, I use them for just kind of, big picture analysis on price, but I don't get too fancy with charting or anything like that. Okay, so one thing I did want to talk about the Coinbase IPO, I saw this float around Twitter yesterday, and I wanted to bring it to your attention. This is a tweet thread from Brian Armstrong about basically the story of Coinbase. So it's really inspiring. Okay, I'm not going to read through it all on Twitter here. I mean, on the stream here. But you can go check it out on Twitter. You can just look up Brian Armstrong. He's, of course, the founder of Coinbase. But he's talking about, how they were doing it. It's pretty crazy about how they were like, basically had early employees working in the laundry room, all right, in the bathroom, in the hallway. Some even camped out on the roof. How they took Coinbase from basically this little idea. Because think about it. I mean, I think they started back in 2000, I feel like I saw 2012 floating around somewhere, maybe earlier than that. But anyways, a long time ago, back when nobody took Bitcoin seriously, and basically to have that idea and to continue on with it and be one of the first people to really pull this idea off as far as an exchange goes, it's pretty crazy, pretty impressive. And to see that journey along the way, and of course, they're being handsomely rewarded for it now. So another thing to look at is somebody says look at Etherscan. There could be, I saw did something. Okay, so somebody's sort of like having like an emergency question about what's going on with Etherscan. I did see something about Etherscan being down today. So the good news is, I have a feeling I know what this is about. So the good news is there's like Ethereum is not down. So Etherscan is different from the Ethereum blockchain. So this is just a website that indexes Ethereum basically. I mean, I don't know exactly how Etherscan works on the back end because I never looked at the technology, but essentially it's just like taking an Ethereum node or a cluster of Ethereum nodes and like pulling in the entire blockchain and parsing it off and probably putting it into like some sort of relational database and just like indexing information and like denormalizing it in a way it can be queried efficiently so you can see the types of insights that you see on Etherscan. So basically like, yeah, I think this got to do with the Berlin hard fork. So basically, we've had an upgrade on Ethereum clients, and I have a feeling this has to do with that. They're saying the Open Ethereum team and core developers are aware of a syncing issue facing the open Ethereum client. So basically, we've had an upgrade in the Ethereum protocol, and Etherscan is like not ready to go just yet. So that's a kind of high level rough explanation, but that's probably what's going on. So I wouldn't freak out about that. You could look at other block explorers for now. You could look at like, I don't know, like ETHPlore or Blocksy or something like that. So anyways, let's go back to other announcements. I just want to talk about that. There's nothing wrong with Ethereum. Don't freak out. It's just Etherscan is down for this little technical upgrade. So I'm sure it'll be back online pretty soon. We're pretty heavily reliant on Etherscan. So I imagine they'll be in there fixing that pretty quick. So let's see here. Let's look at another thing I saw earlier this year. One of the big stories across pretty much everything was the Wallstreetbets saga. So this was back in I can't remember when it was. It was like January. I think it was January. Basically, when it had a group of online traders, coordinate a short squeeze against the hedge fund for the GameStop stock. And we're seeing more news about them. So Wallstreetbets finally allows crypto threads, within limits. So this was a thing for a while, how basically, Wallstreetbets was sort of anti-crypto, all this kind of stuff. But now we're seeing them sort of warm up to the idea. This tends to happen. You know what I mean? It's sort of like people start taking cryptocurrencies seriously when the prices go up. I mean, it's one of those things where, I don't know, that sort of frustrates me a little bit because, of course, the technology to me is fascinating. Even without the price appreciation, but it's just how human psychology tends to work. They see the price going up as validation for the technology itself. I know it's kind of silly, but that's how our brains work. It's captured a lot of attention. And yeah, they're talking about adding crypto threads. So what could this mean? All right. So this is another potential catalyst for this bull market, right? If we're seeing more interest, more ways for outsiders to coordinate online and, buy cryptocurrency. Of course, I'm not advocating like pump and dump schemes or anything crazy like that, or to like manipulate markets. But, more online coordination, decentralized coordination is part of the, blockchain ethos. And hey, these guys have, got a pretty strong history of that. And don't forget, in order for the bull market to continue, we need more people to buy cryptocurrency. It's either the same people who are here now buying more, or outside people coming in and buying. So, or a combination of both, of course. And this is another sort of instance of that. So let's see if we got any questions here in the chat. Let's see here. Somebody said, when does the burn start? So somebody's probably talking about the EIP 1559 ETH burn. So this is, I'll explain this. So basically, EIP 1559 is just a number, basically, for something called an Ethereum improvement proposal. So people ask me, like, how does Ethereum change? Like, if Ethereum is a decentralized protocol that's moving towards ETH 2.0, then who runs it? All right. So this is part of how it works. So basically, we have a governance system in place where improvements to the Ethereum ecosystem are proposed. So an Ethereum improvement proposal, they're voted upon. And then if they pass, they're included into the protocol. So EIP 1559 is a change in how Ethereum works fundamentally under the hood. So what it does is it changes ETH's fee structure. So what does that mean? Well, basically, whenever you send a transaction on Ethereum, maybe you're just sending cryptocurrency around, just Ether, okay? Like the Ethereum cryptocurrency that you see on CoinGecko here. If you're sending that to somebody else, like if I just send ETH from my wallet to yours, or maybe from an exchange to your wallet, then that's a simple transaction, okay? There's more complex transactions on Etherscan, on Ethereum. Anytime you trade on Uniswap, that's a transaction. Anytime you deposit into DeFi, that's a transaction. But anyways, whenever you do these transactions, of course, you have to pay a gas fee. If you ever use a Dapp, if you ever send it around, you've open MetaMask, you say, I want to send this much, and then you click, verify or sign or whatever the button says, send. And then you see this additional amount here, paid. That's the fee. Okay, so that fee right now, basically is it's going to miners. So right now, Ethereum works on proof of work. So miners are the ones who run the blockchain. They mine new blocks. All right. So while we're still in ETH1 world, while we still have proof of work, those miners are rewarded by new Ethereum, new Ether created by the blockchain itself, and also the fee that you're sending. So for EIP 1559, it does a lot of things, but the thing that people are most excited about is the fee that you send is going to be split up into two parts. So the base fee and a miner tip. So the base fee, so the miner tips right there is what will go to pay the miners, but then they'll basically cut that fee into two parts, and the second part will just get burnt. So that's what the person in the chat is asking about. What about the burning? That's what the ETH burning is. The base fee gets burnt, and you can think about this like a network fee or a reward for people who hold ETH and don't move it around or don't sell it. So Ethereum holders, it rewards Ethereum holders because it essentially burns part of the ETH supply, which can reduce the ETH supply and make the ETH that you're holding more valuable. So what does that mean? So don't forget, new ETH is issued anytime a block is created. That will still be the case whenever we go to ETH 2.0, even though we'll be on proof of stake. Even when we have validators, new ETH won't be mined, but it'll still be issued. But here's the whole point. When we burn ETH, basically the new ETH will either, when the ETH is burned, it will either reduce the rate that new ETH is created, so slow down creation, but if there's enough network activity, it will actually cancel out or dwarf's probably too strong, but or be greater than the amount of new ETH that's issued. So basically, if that scenario happens, then ETH would be deflationary in the sense of whenever you create transactions, ETH issuance would go negative at periods of peak network activity. Or if we have sustained periods of peak network activity, then ETH could potentially just be deflationary by nature. Or if you look at it on an annual basis, if Ethereum is really hot and used all the time, let's say it does really become a global financial settlement layer. If you look at on the year time frame, there could be a net negative issuance over a year, something like that, which would basically make ETH deflationary by nature if you zoom out on that time frame. So there's a lot of ifs in there, of course. We don't know for sure what's going to happen long term, but that's a possible scenario. So that is a kind of a long explanation, but that's what this person's asking about when they say, what about the burning? So hopefully that clears up any questions that you might have about that. Somebody said, should I max my credit card out on Doge? No, you should not. So I don't like to give financial advice, but I can keep you from doing something terribly irresponsible. Here's the thing about it. So let me tell you like why you shouldn't do that. Number one, Doge could go to the moon. All right, it really could. But on the way to the moon, Doge could be incredibly volatile and drop 30% before it goes up. So what happens if you take out credit card loans to buy Doge, and then credit card loan, you know what I mean? If you basically go into debt to buy Doge, and then Doge drops 30%, and you sell it, even though it doesn't stay at a 30% loss, but you got scared and you sold it, well, you'd still be out that money even if Doge went back up later. So that's one thing I really try to caution people who are new. When you're getting in the cryptocurrency space at this level or at this price level, after we've basically gone up, many times in the past year, is the cryptocurrency market's probably still going up quite a bit this year. I think, not financial advice, but along the way, we still have volatility, and people enter in now, buy in, and it drops. They get scared and they sell, and then that's how they lose, even though the price continues to go up later. So that's why you gotta be really careful. So it says power consumption is much greater in proof of work. Well, that's at least what people like to say on in the news. I don't have really super strong opinions on it either way. I see people challenge that idea a lot. I don't really dig into it that much, but I do know that Ethereum's moving to proof of stake, so it's kind of a moot point for the Ethereum ecosystem over the long term. Somebody says, should I max out my credit card on ETH? So I would even say no. Or I'm a big ETH believer, but there's still volatility. I'm a big believer in making, like not YOLOing into stuff with high risk like that. So I would say no. Like I said, I don't love to give financial advice, but I'll always tell you to exercise caution. So let's see here. Especially if we have a meetup event. Yeah, we probably could have a meetup event at some point. Kind of wait for things to cool off a little more, world to open up a little bit more than it is before we do something like that. But I think that'd be fun sometime too. So you got my questions in the chat. Somebody says been stacking on Chainlink. Yep, Chainlink's doing well as well. So I saw a funny question in the chat here I'm going to address right now. Okay, so let's see here. Somebody says, when is Binance Smart Chain going to solidify its hold on ETH? So I'm not really sure quite what I mean by that question, or what I mean by that question. So somebody says, yacht and meet when we moon. That could be a cool idea. Wouldn't mind doing a yacht. Anybody has any good recommendations on where to get a yacht? Let me know. Somebody says, why did crypto do so well in, I'm not going to say the name because we're not supposed to say the name on this platform, but basically over the last year with all the events that were happening in the world, why is crypto doing so well? Well, why is everything doing so well? So it's a good question. It's hard to, if anything big and complex like this, it's hard to point to like one single thing to tell you exactly the reason, right? It's not always that simple, but there are lots of factors. One, it basically had a strong starting point in terms of the upside. So last March, pretty much all markets crashed a lot. Okay. So if you measure that as sort of the starting point, the upside became much bigger because if the market in crypto crashed by 50% or more, if you bought at the bottom, you instantly doubled your money when it got back to where it was before. So that's one reason. The other reason are, there's lots of reasons. Okay. I mean, basically the central banks printing a lot of money, all right, causing inflation. Now, there are going to be people who disagree on that, all right, whether the inflation is actually happening, all that kind of stuff. But here's the whole point. If a lot of people think that it's going to happen and they're looking for either safe haven assets or they think that inflation is coming, then there's a lot of free money floating around the system that's likely to inflate asset prices, even if they're not safe havens. So like real estate, stocks, all this kind of stuff, growth assets. If that's true in people's minds, then many people who are trying to seek growth are going to go towards those assets. And if they know crypto has a really large upside, they're going to go buy that. So that's another big factor. There's lots of factors. I mean, some people actually did benefit from, the stimulus packages and bought crypto that way. I don't know that that's necessarily like the big reason, but I think it's probably a factor. Somebody says, do I think that ETH will flip Bitcoin at some point in time? I don't know. I do think it's possible. There's some people say, oh, there's no way that's ever going to happen. I don't know. I think it's possible. Mostly because you can just do more with ETH. There's lots of reasons. I think that's the biggest one. I think the biggest one is you can just do more with it. All right, everybody, that's all I got for today. As always, smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. That really helps these videos out so more people can learn about blockchain. If you like these videos, you're as fascinated with this technology as I am, then how can you get your hands dirty today? You go to my YouTube homepage. You can find any of my free courses there, like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. If you like those, you want to take the next step, or hey, maybe you want to take a master shortcut entirely. Actually, become a blockchain master step by step, start to finish over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. You know, to be an expert to get started today, I've helped people with zero coding experience become real world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. Until next time, thanks for watching Dapp